Aluminum cans, glass bottles, and cardboard boxes. Many of you make a commitment to recycle, and with residential waste on the rise during the pandemic, recycling should be too, right? Well, not exactly. News 4 investigator Lauren Traeger is asking why our efforts to go green are going right into the landfill.
We have limited resources. The world has limited resources.
Twice a week, Terry Zeman makes the short trek down her South St. Louis alley to dump in her carefully sorted recycling.
It's extremely important to me to reduce, reuse, recycle.
Of course, she's not alone. Many of us rinse, consolidate, separate, and take out the recycling. And you might assume all of it gets recycled, right?
I'd really like to think it's at least 80%.
Unfortunately, less than that.
That's embarrassing, and I'd rather not know that.
So here are the numbers for the city of St. Louis. The city says about 17,000 tons of recycling gets collected every year. A recently obtained city document made it seem like 75% of all the stuff put in the blue dumpsters actually goes to the landfill. But News 4 dug a little bit deeper with the city, who says the number is more like 25 to 35% of all recycling actually ends up getting thrown away instead. A number still far too high for some city leaders like Kara Spencer.
Certainly we owe our community an explanation, and we hope to get one.
So News 4 wanted to see how St. Louis stacks up. In St. Louis County, Republic Services says just about 20% of recycling they receive, for various reasons, is instead taken to a landfill. Louisville officials tell us just 10% of their recycling gets trashed. And in Indianapolis, we're told 33% of recycling collected at their community drop-off locations ultimately gets tossed. Again, St. Louis officials believe their number somewhere between 25 and 35%, though they don't know for certain.
For city leaders, is that an acceptable number?
We took the question to the city's executive director of operations, Todd Walterman. He says part of the problem, recycling is less profitable than it used to be.
And honestly, it's all come down to value. You know, what's it worth? Back in 2010, this material had a huge value. The Chinese were begging for our paper, and we were actually getting $20 a ton for this material. And since then, that market's dried up.
But he says the other trouble, what's called contamination.
There's a lot of things that can happen to it. It can get wet. You know, it can be nasty.
Just one plastic bag put inside the recycling dumpster can contaminate and toss out the whole load.
Trying to help the people understand how to recycle and how to do it right.
But the city notes they don't track what actually gets recycled. They only collect the trash. A third-party vendor makes the call.
That's shocking. That's shocking, and that's mind-boggling.
Board President Lewis Reed says he thinks it's clear.
We need a new plan in place, and we need it now.
At the start of the year, the city put out a request for bids to overhaul the current trash contract, set to expire in 2022. But the process hasn't gotten far, and Reed and other aldermen are now pushing for change.
We need to have something else in place, a contract in place that does not create an incentive to send recycling to the landfill. Otherwise, we need to tell every one of the residents of the city of St. Louis, don't bother about putting it in the recycling bin. Put it in the trash dumpster, because that's where it's going to end up anyway.
Enter New Planet Energy, hoping to win the contract.
It's time to move forward, improving our way of life in St. Louis.
They want to take St. Louis's trash and turn it into pellets that can be burned as fuel for manufacturers. They've even selected a site and gotten some permits. The company and other connected entities making donations to the campaigns of Lewis Reed, Mayor Lyda Crewson, and St. Louis County Executive Sam Page.
I think we should look into that. You know, why is this being pushed so hard? By one particular company.
But Alderman Heather Navarro has reservations.
We haven't seen any of these really take off and be successful in the United States. And as an environmentalist, I have to say that any sort of energy that requires us to create garbage is not good in the long run.
Add to that the cost. Currently, the city pays millions every year to the current contract holder.
And we as residents are paying for trash and recycling, and we should make sure that it's as effective as possible.
Either way, right now,
It is extremely disheartening.
Terry says she's doing her part. The city should be doing more.
They shouldn't be lying to us. I mean, if they're not going to recycle, just say we're not recycling anymore.
Waste Management, the current contract holder, says the amount of recycling in St. Louis that goes to the landfill is upwards of 40%.
We reached out to New Planet Energy, who is bidding on that new contract. They sent us a statement from their CEO saying, quote, "We only want a fair and honest chance to show the people of St. Louis what we can do to make the city a greener, more sustainable city and create good paying jobs. We just want to be heard." Now, the city councilor's office has cautioned the aldermen against undue influence from any company that might be bidding. We'll keep watching out for you and following your money in the contract process. I'm Lauren Traeger, News 4 Investigates.